Chuck Olenek. I'm a reenactor. And for 36 years, I used reenacting in my classroom to bring history to life for my students. And I would wear the garb for whatever time period we were covering, which meant maybe some years I dressed up 100 days out of a 180-day school year. And I would try to just immerse my kids in the culture of whatever, in time period, of whatever we were studying, and would play the music in the background, so essentially I had a soundtrack to history going. I would expose them to the art. I would try to get my students to think beyond, look up the names of the dead people in the back of the book and identify them, and try to make history a bit more meaningful to them. Well, I'm not in the classroom anymore, so I had to find something to do, and what I decided to do was repurpose myself and document historical things that interested me. And here I am on this very pretentious sounding Mission Odyssey, where I am visiting each of the sites in Alta California, the missions, the Asistencias, the Estancias, the Presidios, and I'm doing this in garb, and you'll see me transition from one outfit to another as I try to tell the story, because this is putting to use my room full of garb at home and my passion for bringing the past to life, which is also why I'm involved in historical reenactment on the weekends. It's also allowing me to preserve landmarks, because landmarks sometimes go away, and it allows me to play history detective. So what I'm doing today is I am journeying to Mission San Rafael, the 20th of the missions I'll be covering in this series. It would be the only mission that actually grew up from an Asistencia that I'm aware of, and it was the last of the Spanish missions. There would be one other mission created after that, and it would be created by the Mexican government or through the Mexican church. So I hope you stick with me on my journey. In 1776, when Mission San Francisco de Asís was dedicated, Padre Cerro looked out at San Francisco Bay and he considered it to be an insurmountable obstacle. For him, the mission trail ends there. That doesn't stop the Spanish. They continued north, and they had their usual reasons. They were looking for mission sites. They were, getting more neophytes. And now there's another reason. The Russians are up around Bodega Bay, and there's fear of Russian expansion. The Russians have been poaching all along the Bay Area and the Northern California coast, for sea lion pelts, which is now big money for them. And the Spanish don't like it. They want to kind of secure what's up north. Well, in 1808, Gabriel Moraga, who had led 42 different expeditions, or been on 42 different expeditions, ended up going into the San Joaquin Valley, and he ended up dropping down around Mission San Jose. In 1810, he takes another expedition and goes north because he hears there's interlopers. And he is assuming naturally that they're Russians. And they turn out to be like some American deer hunters who had a ship over at Bodega Bay. And Moraga escorts them back. Okay, get out of here. And he's going to follow with like 3 other expeditions going north. And during one of these, he ends up finding the future or the site for the future Mission San Francisco Solano, and I'm going to have to assume he had to find the site for Mission San Rafael Arcángel. So why did Mission San Rafael get created in the first place? There was a problem with the location of Mission Dolores. A lot of the Ohlone and other native Californians were exposed to European diseases, and because of the damp climate at Mission Dolores, it was pretty difficult for the native Californians to recuperate. As a matter of fact, Mission Dolores had the highest death rate of any of the missions. So it was decided to set up an Asistencia. San Rafael was not the only Asistencia created by Mission Dolores. It wasn't even the first one. The first one was here in present-day Pacifica, and it was called Asistencia San Pedro y San Pablo, and it started around 1786, and the purpose of this place was to practice agriculture and raise livestock to help supplement what was going on at Mission Dolores, but also to help feed the Presidio in San Francisco. The second Asistencia, which was created by Mission Dolores, was the Asistencia at San Mateo, which was often known as the Hospice. And it was created as sort of a rest stop between Mission Santa Clara and Mission Dolores along the Camino Real. And it also was a site to raise cattle and to help spread the faith. The Asistencia San Rafael is going to serve a different function. It's going to serve as a hospital, and the idea would be to move the sicker, weaker neophytes to San Rafael in order to recover in a better climate that was drier than over at Mission Dolores. And there were also concerns over the spiritual welfare of the neophytes. Many neophytes who came to Mission Dolores from Marin only to return home ill had died without benefit of the sacraments. At first, Padre Seria, who was the father prefect, really wasn't too keen on this plan. He felt that a lot of the neophytes would be exposed to or re-exposed to pagan ideas and be unable to resist going back. But Padre Luis Gil, who also had a medical background, managed to convince Padre Seria to go ahead. So the plan was put in action. And on December 14th, 1817, at the native site of Anaguani, 15 miles north of San Francisco, Asistencia San Rafael, later become Mission San Rafael, was created. And it would be, in effect, California's first sanitarium. So who came to Asistencia and later Mission San Rafael? Well, at first it was the invalid Ohlone, or the Ohlone who needed to recuperate, and other native Californian neophytes that were transferred up from Mission Dolores. But in time, the site attracted others. Coast, Miwok, and Pomo later became part of the neophyte community. By the end of the first year, the Asistencia had a population of over 300. By the end of 1820, the number had doubled. The records of conversions, baptisms, marriages, deaths, and such like were kept at the parent Mission Dolores in San Francisco, and the residents of San Rafael Asistencia were counted as part of the population of Mission Dolores. Before long, the little colony at San Rafael was a healthy community in which more than 1,000 neophytes were living. The outward appearance of the new settlement was far less imposing than the parent mission across the bay. By 1818, a composite building was erected. It was a plain building, approximately 87 feet long by 42 feet in width and 18 feet in height, with a corridor of tules divided rather casually into a number of rooms which served as storehouses, a hospital for the sick, and a monastery for the padres. A church was also constructed at one end of the building. The church had no tower for its bells, which are hung outside the front door on a wooden frame. When Padre Payeras, the Presidente, visited the mission in that year, he was not pleased with the site at all. Padre Gil is going to run Asistencia San Rafael for the first 2 years. Really made a difference as far as with his medical knowledge. But in time, Padre Juan Amoros ended up replacing him as the head of the site. And he was a very forceful, energetic personality. He loved to travel outside the community in order to enlarge it, and would frequently bring back 1 or 2 converts. He also, as what would happen at other missions and other assistencias, pushed teaching the trades such as blacksmithing or teaching the neophytes to work as vaqueros. But there was something unique about San Rafael. Boat building became a major industry here because boats were necessary to be able to cross the bay. And so, in time, this site really begins to prosper. On October 19th, 1822, San Rafael achieves full mission status. And said this place was a little different. This was one of the only missions that started off as an Asistencia and actually achieved that status. Another thing that makes this different is, since this started off originally as that hospital Asistencia, for some reason it was decided, let's not build a quadrangle, because that's the way most of the other missions were built, in the form of a quadrangle. This one was different, and it remained so. Okay, so I'm coming back. I hope you stick with me on my journey.